4 years ago, I stood on a beach in California watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Megan said yes, with tears streaming down her face, and I thought I had found my forever. Our families celebrated us. My parents adored her. Everything felt perfect, like a dream I never wanted to wake up from. But there were things happening right in front of me that I could not see. Not until the night I came home earlier than expected. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If you have ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most, stay with me through this story. It might break your heart in places, but I promise you the ending will remind you that standing up for yourself is always worth it. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I met Megan at a friend's wedding in San Diego when I was 27 years old. She was wearing a blue dress, laughing at something the bartender said, and when our eyes met across the room, I felt something shift inside my chest. We talked for 3 hours that night, and by the end of it, I knew I wanted to see her again. 6 months later, we were officially dating. 2 years after that, I proposed on that California beach. She said yes, and I felt like the luckiest man alive. We got married in a small ceremony with about 80 guests. My parents, Frank and Patricia, sat in the front row, beaming with pride. My mom cried happy tears. My dad shook my hand and said he was proud of the man I had become. Megan's parents hugged me and welcomed me into their family. Everything felt right. After the honeymoon, we bought a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona. It was not a mansion, but it was ours. We painted the walls together, argued playfully about furniture placement, and spent our first night there eating pizza on the floor because our couch had not arrived yet. Those early days were filled with laughter and hope. I worked as a software engineer for a tech company based in Denver. The job paid well, but it required me to travel frequently. Sometimes I would be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time, visiting clients or attending conferences. Megan understood. She worked as a real estate agent, so her schedule was flexible. She would show houses during the day and be home waiting for me when I returned from my trips. We had a routine that I loved. Every Sunday night, no matter how busy we were, we cooked dinner together. She would handle the vegetables while I worked on the main course. We would open a bottle of wine, play music, and talk about our week. Those Sunday nights felt sacred to me. We also talked about having children. We agreed to wait 2 more years, save up some money, and then start trying. I could picture it clearly. A little boy or girl running around our backyard, Megan chasing after them with that beautiful smile on her face. My family was close-knit. We gathered at my parents' house once a month for dinner. My mom would cook her famous pot roast, and we would all sit around the big table in their dining room, catching up on life. My dad would tell the same stories he had told 100 times, and we would all laugh anyway. My Aunt Linda, my father's sister, would bring her famous apple pie. Her son Derek, my cousin, was always there too. Derek was 2 years older than me. We grew up together, more like brothers than cousins. We played football in the backyard, went fishing with our dads, and got into trouble together as teenagers. When he got married at 25, I was his best man. But his marriage fell apart about 6 months before everything in my life changed. His wife left him for someone else, and Derek was devastated. He lost weight, stopped going out, and seemed like a shadow of himself. My parents encouraged me to reach out to him. Family takes care of family, my dad always said. So I did. I invited Derek over for dinners. I helped him update his resume and connected him with contacts who might help him find a new job. Megan was supportive of all of it. She said it was one of the things she loved about me, how much I cared about my family. Derek started coming around more often. At first it was just weekend barbecues or watching football games at our place. But then he began stopping by during the week too, especially when I was traveling for work. He said he wanted to keep Megan company so she would not feel lonely in the house by herself. I thought it was thoughtful. He was family after all. I trusted him completely. Looking back, I can see the signs I missed. Megan started mentioning Derek more often in our conversations. She would laugh when telling me about something funny he said. Her eyes would light up in a way that I did not notice at the time. I was too busy with work, too confident in my marriage, too trusting of my own blood. The first real moment of doubt came when I was on a business trip in Seattle. It was around 9:30 at night, and I video called Megan from my hotel room. She answered from our bedroom, her hair slightly messy, wearing the old college t-shirt she always slept in. We talked for a few minutes, and then I heard it, a man's laugh in the background. Not from the television. It was too clear, too close. I asked her about it, keeping my voice casual even though my heart had started beating faster. She smiled and said Derek had stopped by to fix a leaky faucet in the kitchen. He was just finishing up and about to leave. I nodded and said that was nice of him. We talked for a few more minutes, said our I love yous, and hung up. But something felt off. It was almost 10 at night. Why would Derek still be there at that hour for a simple faucet repair? I pushed the thought away, telling myself I was being paranoid. Derek was my cousin. Megan was my wife. There was nothing to worry about. When I got home 2 days later, things seemed normal on the surface. But I started noticing small changes. Megan kept her phone closer to her now, always face down on the table. Sometimes she would step out of the room to take calls, saying it was a client. She started taking longer showers and spent more time on her appearance, even when we were just staying home. One night I woke up around 2 in the morning and reached for her, but her side of the bed was empty. I found her sitting in the living room in the dark, the glow of her phone illuminating her face. She was smiling at something on the screen, typing quickly. When she noticed me standing there, she jumped and quickly turned off the phone. "Just checking some work emails," she said, her voice a little too high. "Could not sleep." I nodded and went back to bed. But I lay there, staring at the ceiling for a long time, a cold feeling settling in my stomach that I could not shake. The night that destroyed my world started as a good day. I was in Denver for a 3-day conference, but the final session got canceled due to a scheduling conflict. I decided to fly home a day early and surprise Megan. On the way from the airport, I stopped at her favorite flower shop and picked up a bouquet of sunflowers. I also grabbed a bottle of the red wine we had shared on our first date. I imagined her face lighting up when she saw me walk through the door. I pulled into our driveway around 9:15 in the evening. The house looked warm and inviting, lights glowing from the windows. But then I noticed the truck parked on the street in front of our house. Derek's truck. My stomach tightened, but I told myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe there was another household repair. Maybe he was just dropping something off. I walked up to the front door and let myself in, quietly wanting to maintain the element of surprise. The living room was empty. The kitchen was empty. The television was off. The house was silent except for something I could hear coming from upstairs. Muffled sounds. Movement. My feet felt like they were encased in concrete as I walked toward the staircase. Each step I climbed felt like walking deeper into a nightmare. The sounds became clearer. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands were shaking. Part of me wanted to turn around to not see what I knew I was about to see. But my legs kept moving. The door to our bedroom was slightly open. I pushed it the rest of the way and stood frozen in the doorway, Megan and Derek. In our bed. The bed I had shared with my wife for 4 years. For a moment, none of us moved. Time stopped. Then Megan screamed, grabbing the sheet to cover herself. Derek scrambled off the bed, reaching for his clothes on the floor. They were both talking at once, voices overlapping in a chaos of excuses and panic. "Lowell, wait, this is not what it looks like." "Oh my God, Lowell, I can explain." I stood there like a statue, the sunflowers still clutched in my hand, the bottle of wine in the other. Then my fingers went numb, and both fell to the floor. The bottle did not break, just rolled slowly across the hardwood. The sunflowers scattered at my feet. "Get out." My voice did not sound like my own. It was quiet, controlled, completely detached from the hurricane raging inside me. Derek was pulling on his jeans, his hands fumbling with the zipper. "Let me explain, man. Just let me explain. Get out of my house. Now." He looked at me for a moment, then looked at Megan, then back at me. Without another word, he grabbed his shirt and shoes and pushed past me. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, the front door opening and closing, his truck starting and driving away. Megan was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. She slid off the bed and came toward me, reaching for my arm. "Please, Lowell, please let me explain. This was a mistake. It did not mean anything." I stepped back from her touch like her hand was made of fire. "How long?" she hesitated. "Lowell, how long has this been going on?" Her eyes dropped to the floor. "About 3 months. 3 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to build our future. While I was traveling to provide for us. While I was helping Derek get back on his feet. 3 months of lies. 3 months of them laughing behind my back. It just happened," Megan continued, her voice desperate. "You were gone so much and I was lonely and Derek was here and things just... I am so sorry, Lowell. I am so sorry." I did not respond. I could not. I walked past her, grabbed a bag from the closet, and started throwing clothes into it. She followed me around the room, still talking, still crying, but her words were just noise. Static. I could not process them. "Where are you going?" she asked, as I headed for the door. "Away from you." I drove to Marcus's apartment. Marcus had been my best friend since college, a criminal defense lawyer with a spare bedroom and a well-stocked bar. He took one look at my face when he opened the door and stepped aside without a word. I sat on his couch and stared at the wall for what felt like hours. He poured me a whiskey and sat with me in silence. He did not ask questions. He just waited until I was ready to talk. When I finally told him what happened, he listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said 2 words. "I am sorry." Those were the only right words anyone could have said. The next morning I woke up with a pounding headache and a brief moment of confusion before reality came crashing back. I needed to talk to my parents. I needed support from the people who raised me, who loved me, who would understand. I drove to their house, rehearsing what I would say, imagining my dad's anger at Derek, my mom's comforting embrace. But when I walked through their front door, I found Derek already sitting in my parents' living room. Aunt Linda was there too, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. My parents were on the couch across from them, their expressions unreadable. "What is going on?" I asked, my voice sharp. My dad stood up. "Son, come sit down. We need to talk about this. Talk about what I looked at Derek, who would not meet my eyes." "What did he tell you?" "We know what happened," my mom said softly. Derek explained everything. Derek explained everything. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. "Really, and what exactly did he explain?" "He told us that Megan initiated it," my dad said. "That she pursued him, and he was in a vulnerable state after his divorce. He knows he made a mistake, but you need to understand the full picture." I stared at my father in disbelief. "The full picture? I caught them in my bed, Dad. In my bed. In my house. Does it matter who started it?" Aunt Linda spoke up, her voice trembling. "Derek is so sorry, Lowell. He has been through so much with the divorce, and he was not thinking clearly. He is family. You have to forgive him." "I have to forgive him." I turned to my parents. "What about Megan? Are you going to tell me I need to forgive her too?" The silence that followed was my answer. My mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Lowell, honey, every marriage has problems. What Megan did was wrong, but maybe you need to look at why it happened. You work so much. You travel all the time. She was lonely. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Are you seriously blaming me for my wife cheating?" "No one is blaming you," my dad said in his stern, reasonable voice. "We are saying that marriage is complicated. Divorce is messy. It would be a scandal in the family. People would talk. Think about how this would look." How this would look? I was shaking now.